Hi, my name is Tanya Sharp, and I am with the Office of Special Education and Early Learning. I'm excited to share with you an overview of the newly released questions and answers document related to the most recent revisions to the Kentucky Administrative Regulations, definitions for hearing impairment and visual impairment. So let's get started. The Kentucky Board of Education has approved amendments to the Kentucky Administrative Regulations definitions regarding special education to improve alignment with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act 2004 and the codified federal regulations definitions. This video has been developed to explain the changes in the definitions and to provide an overview of the questions and answers related to revisions to special education definitions document. What is the questions and answers or Q&A document? The document was created to address the amendments made to the Kentucky Administrative Regulations definitions regarding special education. It's a document including questions and answers related to the most recent updates to the Kentucky Administrative Regulations definitions for hearing impairment and visual impairment. The document includes an overview of the changes to the definitions for hearing impairment and visual impairment. It will address how those changes may impact referring, evaluating, and determining eligibility for a student with a hearing or visual impairment. The document also includes a list of resources to assist admissions and release committees, also known as ARCs, with determining and documenting eligibility for either impairment. Who should review the Q&A? It's designed so that anyone who is involved in referring, evaluating, and/or determining eligibility for a student may review questions and answers related to the changes made to the definitions and the impact those changes may have. This list is not exhaustive, as it may include anyone who is in direct contact with students as they may be involved in the referral and evaluation process. The Q&A is organized to include a quick overview of why the document was created. This non-regulatory guidance addresses the revisions to the definitions for hearing impairment and visual impairment and other frequently asked questions that may impact students with disabilities. Finally, the document includes a list of additional resources that may assist districts and families in supporting students who may have hearing or visual related disabilities. In the document, there are questions and answers related to both hearing impairment and visual impairment, as well as individual sections that address hearing impairment and visual impairment separately. Here is an example of a question and answer from the guidance related to both hearing impairment and visual impairment. This example explains why the definitions for hearing impairment and visual impairment have changed. Here is another example of a question and answer provided. The question states, have the eligibility requirements for a hearing impairment changed? The answer provides, to determine eligibility for special education, students must meet the criteria outlined in the Kentucky Administrative Regulations. Before a student is determined eligible under the category of hearing impairment and provided specially designed instruction and related services, the Admissions and Release Committee must compare and analyze evaluation data and document the following interpretation. Number 1, the student has a hearing loss that may be mild to profound, unilateral, or bilateral, permanent, or fluctuating. Number 2, the hearing loss results in difficulty in identifying linguistic information through hearing. Number 3, evaluation information confirms there is an adverse effect on educational performance. Number 4, evaluation information confirms lack of instruction in reading and math is not a determinant factor in the eligibility decision. Number 5, evaluation information confirms limited English proficiency is not a determinant factor in the eligibility decision. Here is another example of a question and answer provided. The question states, how will changes to the regulation impact how students are referred for a visual impairment? The answer provided states, the ARC should review all available information to determine whether an evaluation is warranted and develop the plan. The ARC must follow the referral system outlined in the district's policies and procedures, including documentation requirements described in 707 KAR 1 300 Section 3. Students may be referred for a visual impairment if they have any vision loss, even with correction, which has an adverse effect on their educational performance. This allows ARCs to consider whether the vision conditions, even with correction, adversely affect the child's educational performance. The Office of Special Education Programs recommends the visual impairment, including blindness page for parents and families to learn more about various types of visual impairments and how those impairments can affect a child's ability to learn. The Q&A document also has an additional resources section for use by districts and families. The resources include guidance and policy letters provided by the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, and information and resources available on the Kentucky Department of Education website and resources from other technical assistance providers. The family resources include information and resources available on the Kentucky Department of Education website and resources from other technical assistance provider. The eligibility determination forms used by ARCs to document a student has met the eligibility criteria for a disability have been updated to reflect the changes made to the definitions. The forms are posted on the Kentucky Department of Education website and will be updated in Infinite Campus. What is not changing? ARCs will still use evaluation data to determine if the student meets the eligibility criteria for a hearing or visual impairment, and the ARC will consider if the disability adversely impacts their education, requiring specially designed instruction and related services. This has just been a brief overview of the document. Our office is more than happy to answer any questions you may have. You can reach the Division of IDEA Implementation and Preschool at 502-564-4970, or you may email Veronica Sullivan at Veronica.Sullivan@education.ky.gov. Thank you.